Don't let your friend who can't keep a relationship tell you what to do in your marriage. Don't let your friend who gave up on their dream tell you how to go after yours. Never take advice from someone you wouldn't trade places with. So this is how you raise your standards to become who God created you to be. Hey, I'm Terri Savelle Foy, your cheerleader of dreams. I want to talk to you today about 5 keys to raise your standards and become the person God wants you to be. Let me start out with a story that I heard about this guy when he was in college, and he said his psychology professor walked up on the stage to just illustrate something. Well, she wanted to teach one final lesson on the power of perspective and mindset. So she raised a glass of water about like this over her head. And they expected everyone to just say, oh, the glass is half empty or half full, the little metaphor. But instead, with a big smile on her face, she asked everyone, how heavy is this glass of water I'm holding? Well, students shouted out answers ranging from a couple of ounces to a couple of pounds. Well, after a few minutes, she said, from my perspective, the absolute weight of the glass is irrelevant. She said it all depends on how long I hold it. If I hold it for a minute or two, it's pretty light. If I hold it for an hour straight, its weight might make my arm ache a little bit. She said if I hold it for a day straight, my arm will likely cramp up and feel completely numb and paralyzed, forcing me to just drop the glass to the floor. She said in each case, the absolute weight of the glass doesn't change, but the longer I hold it, the heavier it feels. Then she said this, your past, your worries, your regrets, your disappointments, your stressful thoughts are very much like this glass of water. She said you think about them for a little while and nothing drastic happens. Think about them a little bit longer and you begin to feel the pain. Think about them all day long and you completely feel numb and paralyzed, incapable of doing anything else until you drop them. Well, I don't know what your story is, but God is saying it's time to cast your cares on Him. Give Him all your regrets, your past, your fears. Drop the old mindsets. Start expecting Him to do big things in your life. I believe it's time for a new thing. It's time for a new beginning, a new mindset. And it's time to raise your standards to reach some new goals in your life. So how this message came about. Years ago, I went through one of the toughest seasons of my life. I'd come to a place where, I would explain it like this, a fork in the road. I just had to make some big decisions. Am I going to continue going down this path, or am I going to take on a whole new set of standards and change my life? So it was 2002, and I was recently separated from my husband, just about to call the divorce attorney. I was in debt, living from paycheck to paycheck. I had no money saved, no dreams or goals for my life. My house was a bit of a mess. I was a mess. And my dad, who was my boss at the time, asked me to temporarily work from home alone. Well, when he said the word alone, it sounded like the most miserable, dreadful, lonely thing I could think of at that time in my life. But here's what I discovered. The average person does not spend time alone. The average successful person does. In fact, being alone is what gives successful people an advantage. Let me explain. Many people have a fear of being alone because when they are, they're forced to face what is going on in their lives. More importantly, what's going on in their minds. And when you're alone, you discover what's turning around in your thoughts. And that can be very alarming. And for a lot of people, and definitely me back then, the thought of spending time alone can sound like torture. Like some people would rather be physically tortured than sit quietly in a room undisturbed for 20 minutes to think, to pray, to dream. But this is the advantage that successful people know about. In fact, I heard recently that the attention span of a goldfish is 9 seconds. But even worse, humans have an attention span of, can you guess? 8.25 seconds. We don't even have the attention span of the ill-focused goldfish. But think about it. When you look at the great geniuses that the world has ever known, they all had one thing in common. They spent a lot of time alone thinking, praying, planning, dreaming, journaling. I mean, even Einstein had a special thinking chair. Dan Cathy, the CEO of Chick-fil-A, he said he schedules time on his calendar to be alone to think. Henry Ford said, thinking is the hardest work there is, which is probably the reason so few engage in it. Well, Luke 5:16 says Jesus himself would often slip away to the wilderness and pray in seclusion. Well, this is where you receive direction and clarity, answers, wisdom, and vision for your life. So let me just ask you, how good are you at being alone? Like, when was the last time you sat quietly by yourself and just thought? About what, Terri? About life, your future, where you're headed, where you see yourself 5 years from now, what you really want, what you want to change, what's bothering you, who do you need to forgive, what you need to stop, what you need to pursue, what is God speaking to your heart? Maybe like me years ago, you haven't gotten still long enough to ask yourself those vital questions and, more importantly, to get answers because you're never alone. Maybe you even pray like I did every morning, but you never listen for God to communicate back to you. I like how Bob Bodine said, once you meet with God, you'll discover something amazing. You'll find out He does more than just listen to you. He has a plan, plans to prosper you, to give you hope, and to shed light on your great future. But He said to know these plans, you have to stop and listen. Well, I'll never forget that first morning in 2002 when I began the forced habit of aloneness. After dropping my daughter Cassidy off at school, I drove home, I walked into my kitchen, lit a candle, I just grabbed an empty journal, plopped myself on the sofa, and I just sat there. And the stillness of the room was a frightening sound to me. Like, it annoyed me so much to not have noise in the background. Anything, the TV, music, someone on the phone, the neighbor mowing their yard, the garbage truck outside. Seriously, anything other than just quietness. I had never practiced the art of doing nothing. I couldn't remember the last moment I truly sat still and just listened for the still small voice. So I stared at a blank page of my journal and I just began writing my thoughts. And I was shocked. The more I wrote, the more sincere and honest I was about my feelings at that time. Like, why was my marriage falling apart? What led me to making poor decisions that resulted in this miserable state of mind? Or why was I so insecure? How did I slide into this rut? What do I really want to do with my life? Well, the more I wrote my thoughts, the deeper I dove into my reality. I found so much healing on the pages of those journals. I really came face to face with the truth that I had never really given myself permission to just dream. I realized that my insecurity stemmed from never thinking that I was enough. But behind closed doors with nobody around, just me and God, I began to raise my personal standards. I began to discover one by one the 10 behind-the-scenes habits of the most successful people in the world. So I call it the Alone Advantage. Of course, that's the title of my brand new book. In fact, after I began practicing these 10 habits in private, God began to reward me in public. This alone advantage led to God restoring my marriage, 32 years now together, paying off debts and having money in a savings account, launching an organization, writing 15 books, launching a TV show, speaking at some of the largest conferences in the world, developing courses that reach thousands of people in over 150 nations, and having the opportunity to write this new book to share with you what successful people do in private so they are rewarded in public. I believe it's time to raise your standards to become who God created you to be. So let's go through these 5 keys to raising your standards real quick. Number 1 is get serious. I heard Jim Rohn say, if you want to be successful, the first thing you need to do is get serious. Now, here's what I mean. It's serious whether or not you fulfill your assignment from God. It's serious whether or not you pursue the dreams He put in your heart. It's serious whether or not you get healthy. Don't wait till it's too late. It's serious whether or not you get your money in order, or whether or not you write your book or get your license to fly, to sell houses, to cut hair, to live your dreams. I heard Michael Todd say it like this: when God gives you a vision, don't treat it as a cheap suggestion. In other words, it's serious to God. Get serious about raising your personal standards to become who God wants you to become. I love this from Darren Hardy. He was talking about now he used to be the publisher of Success Magazine, but he was talking about how he was so ready to find the right woman and get married. Well, one day he got serious about this dream. Instead of just wishing she'd magically show up, he sat down and he wrote out a vision of his ideal wife, everything he would desire for a future spouse. Well, then after looking at this amazing woman on paper, he thought, what woman would be attracted to me? A woman like this, would she even be attracted to a person like me? Then he asked himself this important question: who do I need to become to attract a girl of that standard? And he realized he needed to raise his personal standards within himself. See, standards are basically what you say yes and no to. It's where you draw the line in your life and you refuse to go below it. For example, in your health, you have a standard. There's a limit to what you will allow yourself to weigh. There's a number. You may not like it, but that's your standard right now. I had to learn to set a new standard of exercising behind the scenes. Or in your finances, you have a limit as to what you will allow your savings account to get down to, or your checking account. That's your current standard. I heard someone just the other day say they had like $200 in their account. Then I heard another person say, I will never allow my savings account to get below $40,000. That's her standard. Well, I had to learn a new standard of saving money. You have standards in your house, how junky you'll allow it to get before you clean it up. Or, you have standards with your time, how much time you spend watching TV or scrolling social media, where there comes a time where you go, okay, that's enough scrolling. I've wasted too much time. So you and I have standards whether we've thought about it or not. Well, if you want to go to a new level, you have to elevate your standards. You have to raise them, right? Number 2 is get a schedule. Maybe you're busier than ever and you struggle to find time to invest in yourself, to be alone for any period of time, or to read books that can help you improve. In your heart it would help, but you just don't have the time. I completely understand, and I found the solution. It's called a calendar. Scheduling things on your calendar. It's not about getting more things done. It's about getting the right things done. In other words, start going to bed at a certain time. Like that's your new standard. You just set the alarm differently and you wake up at a certain time. It's your new schedule. Protect it. Your family will get used to the fact that you go to bed earlier than normal, but you also wake up earlier than normal. Why? To work on you. In fact, habit number 3 in my new book, it's all about how I had to decide to wake up a little bit earlier to work on me. Just this right here, raising your standard about when you go to bed and when you wake up will give you a massive advantage. You'll start seeing yourself as someone with successful habits. Well, what gets scheduled gets done, right? Think about this. Start waking up 15 or 30 minutes earlier than you do right now, and go in another room to spend time with God, to write what you're grateful for, to look at your dreams and goals, or speak faith-filled scriptures out of your mouth. Now, I'll walk you through what to do after you wake up, but just start. The average person oversleeps 30 minutes a day. Now, 30 minutes may not sound like much, but over the course of a month, that's 15 hours that could change your life or keep you stuck. So it's time to raise your personal standard of just waking up a little bit earlier to work on you alone. Okay, number 3 is get mentors. Find someone who's 7 to 10 steps ahead of you that you can learn from. See, what brought you here will keep you here. If you want to go to a new level, you got to be stretched by people doing a little bit better than you. I heard Darren Hardy say this. He said, never take advice from someone you wouldn't trade places with. And yes, you can heed warnings from people who blew it years ago in areas of their life and take their advice to not go down the path they went. But what he meant was, don't let your broke friend tell you how to handle your money. Or don't let your out-of-shape friend tell you how you should eat. Don't let your friend who can't keep a relationship tell you what to do in your marriage. Don't let your friend who gave up on their dream tell you how to go after yours. Never take advice from someone you wouldn't trade places with. So this is how you raise your standards to become who God created you to be. So whether it's my new book and the gratitude journal that we're offering this week or someone else's, you need mentors. We all need coaching. What you've learned up to now has brought you to this moment. So what I learned up to 2002 brought me to that moment, in debt, separated, unhealthy, no goals. So I had to find mentors to take me to like this new identity of discipline and focus and goal setting and restoration. And I still do. So make a decision to become a serious student today. You get to decide how things turn out from here on. So habit number 4 in the book, I call it grow up. Now, I had to make a conscious decision that after I wake up a little earlier, I'm going to grow up each day. Just reading 5 minutes a day led to 10 minutes, then 20 minutes, until I started building my own personal library. But here's the thing. As my thinking grew, my whole life grew. And the same will happen for you. In fact, I wanted to read this to you. I received this incredible letter from this precious lady named Barbara, and she was hiding from her abuser in a shelter, and this is what it said. I want you to hear this. So she said, years ago, I was in a shelter for battered women. I was a single mom trying to flee my abuser. I was there with my toddler, and we had nothing but the clothes on our backs. I lost sight of all hope. She said, in the shelter, I was assigned a mattress to sleep on. One night, I felt a bump under the mattress, and as I looked underneath, I found one of Terri's books. Now, fast forward 7 years later, it says, after Barbara read the book about dreaming and making a vision board, she sent me this letter, and this is what Barbara wrote. She said, my entire life has changed. I've been able to accomplish nearly everything on my vision board. The trials I went through led me to Jesus, and she said, I now work in a church. I have a small business. I got my master's degree. I'm remarried to a man who respects me, and my son is now 10 years old, doing well, and we are free from fear. Now, I want you to know, I'm not taking credit for the drastic turnaround in Barbara's life. And I don't know how one of my books ended up under a mattress at a homeless shelter, but I am so grateful it did. But this story just proves the power of the written word to transform our lives, our mindsets. I think Dr. Seuss may have said it the best. He said, the more you read, the more things you will know. The more you learn, the more places you'll go, right? But did you know that someone else has already provided a blueprint for you to follow for whatever you're going through? A book is literally the advice, the experience, the wisdom of someone practically just sitting down with you and sharing everything they know about that topic. So basically, you get to choose your mentors who will have the greatest impact on who you become. So I want to challenge you today. Raise your standards by investing in mentors who can help you become who God wants you to be. Now, in just a little bit, I'll share with you how to get your copy of my brand new book, The Alone Advantage, where I share the 10 behind-the-scenes habits that will radically change your life in the best way possible, along with the personal gratitude journal. Now, this right here is habit number 8, cheer up. That's what I call it, cheer up. Successful people understand that a grateful heart is a magnet for miracles. But I don't want to get distracted. Let's discover 2 more keys. Okay, the 4th key I want to share is get invested in someone else. See, when you're self-conscious, it means you're conscious of yourself. When you get yourself off your mind and you start investing in someone else, it actually builds your confidence. It raises your standards. So you may or may not know this, but we have outreaches here at our ministry helping young girls and women in human trafficking. We go right into the strip clubs, these adult clubs, and we minister face-to-face with these girls, the dancers, many of whom are trafficked. In fact, we went recently to 5 different clubs in Dallas, and every single girl wanted us to pray with them. Some were begging us to come pray for them before we left, hugging us, just crying, saying they want a relationship with Jesus. In fact, I love this. the Lord told me before we ever went inside, because I was like, Lord, help me, because this is so outside my comfort zone. This is what he said. When they encounter you, they'll have an encounter with me. Isn't that powerful? And that's exactly what happened. We were hugging them, giving them some of our books to help them realize how valuable they are to God. Tears are pouring down their faces. Now, the reason I'm telling you this is because when I invested in those girls that Friday night, I wasn't thinking about my problems, my challenges, my obstacles. No, I felt so good inside because we were serving, we were helping, investing, we were getting to be the hands and feet of Jesus. See, when you get yourself off your mind and you invest in someone else, it actually raises your personal standards. It builds your confidence to become who God wants you to be. You know, maybe you can't or don't feel called to physically go to places to minister, but you can send us by being a partner with our ministry. You know, that's just as effective. It's part of you fulfilling your God-given assignment and doing what God's calling you to do to fund the gospel into those dark places. And hey, real quick, if God leads you to be a partner right now, you can just call the number on the screen or go to terri.com/partner. We would be so honored and so grateful to just welcome you to our team. And I want to say thank you if that's you. And if you're already a partner, I want you to know we couldn't do it without you. All the resources we give away on the streets and in the girls' homes, it's made possible because of partners. So thank you so much. But my point is, you will raise your personal standards when you get invested in someone else. Okay, number 5 is get moving. Take immediate action. Don't hesitate. Now, I heard someone say, if you get inspired to do something and you don't do something about it within 24 hours, chances are you never will. So what does that mean? It means when the alarm goes off, don't hesitate, get up. When you pull up at the gym and you sit in the parking lot, don't hesitate, get inside. When God tells you to give, don't hesitate. Get the seed in the ground. When you feel like complaining about everything that's not happening, but you decide, nope, I'm going to focus on what I have to be grateful for. Do it now. Just lift your hands and start thanking God for what is happening in your life, or write it down. Don't hesitate. Do it now. And you know what's going to happen? A shift. A shift is going to take place in you. And what used to hold you back will no longer have power over you. You're going to gain an advantage that causes you to become who God wants you to become, and you're going to have what God wants you to have. Now, I'm sure you've heard this old example of the elephant that was tied to an 18-inch stake in the ground, which I happen to have here. This massive creature capable of pulling down entire trees with one tug. He stood confined by a puny 18-inch stake in the ground. How could that be? Well, because the elephant had tried to break free when he was a baby, and he couldn't. So he just assumed all these years later that he could never break free. So he didn't even try. Well, I'm telling you, if you'll make a decision to take these 5 keys to heart, a shift is going to take place in your life, and what used to hold you back will no longer have power over you. So I want to help you gain the alone advantage that successful people have by revealing the 10 behind-the-scenes habits that drive crazy success. People are rewarded in public for what they practice in private. See, it's what you do behind the scenes that leads to the progress, the growth, the opportunities that people see in public. So in my brand new book, The Alone Advantage, I'm going to show you how simple habits behind closed doors can reshape every aspect of your life. The secret of your future is in your daily routine. So I want to give you this offer today. It's my brand new book, The Alone Advantage, with those 10 habits, plus the gratitude journal. Now this normally would be $40, but we reduced the price and we're offering it for $30. So all you have to do is call the number on the screen or go to terri.com and we will ship it right to you. You know, in this book, I talk about the 7 indicators that you have a dream from God. I got this straight from my dad, Terri Savelle, stole it from his notes. But don't you just wonder sometimes, is this my dream? Or is this really what God wants me to do? You can use this as a checklist. So I know you're going to have fun with this because this, I always say I'm a product of my product. You're going to transform your self-image. You're going to become your own best cheerleader. And I'm telling you, God is going to reward you in public for what you practice in private. So I believe when you read this, you're going to wake up with a clear vision. You're going to learn how to set goals. You're going to protect your time in private so God can promote you in public. So the advantage of getting alone is you're going to discover God's plan and purpose for your life, and you're going to have the faith to go after it. So again, this special bundle we put together would normally be $40, but we reduced it to $30. I hope that's a blessing to you. Again, just call the number on the screen or go to terri.com to get started today. And again, I want to say thank you for being our partner. If you're not a partner, I would be so honored to have you partner with me in ministry. And remember again, God can't use you publicly until you get victory privately. So start on the road to victory today. And I'm telling you, I'm going to be cheering you on to live your dreams. So thank you for joining me today, and I can't wait to see you next time. Be sure to take advantage of these offers. And again, I'm cheering you on.
Whatever your unique, God-given dream is, Terri Savelle Foy's new book, The Alone Advantage, reveals what successful people do in private to prepare and achieve the dreams in their heart. Discover how you can wake up with vision, live each day with purpose, and experience God's promotion in your life. As you read, you'll get the 10 behind-the-scenes habits that drive crazy success and receive practical, faith-filled keys to find your purpose, hear God's voice, and live your dreams. Plus, you'll also get a copy of this quality gratitude journal to record your thankfulness and keep your heart open to receive the blessings and abundance God has for you. This must-have package will transform your mind and propel you to fulfill your destiny. Call or go online today to request the Alone Advantage along with the gratitude journal, available for a limited time. Call toll-free at 1-800-795-5597 or visit us online at terri.com. Order now and discover your Alone Advantage today.
I want to ask you to help me with something very important. At our ministry, we are committed to many outreaches, but something that is so close to my heart is the work we do rescuing women out of human trafficking. You may not know my story, but after I was violated as a young girl and dealt with horrible insecurities and deep shame, I made it my mission to help young women. So each year we provide funds for local safe houses to give shelter and resources to young women. Not only that, but we've actually gone into clubs in some of the roughest parts of America where exotic dancers are actually being trafficked. And I'm telling you, going into these dark places, it pushes me out of my comfort zone. But when I look these precious girls in the eyes and tell them face to face how valuable they are to God, it impacts their life and mine. Well, all of this is possible because of our amazing monthly partners. Would you become a monthly partner with our ministry and help me fight against this demonic attack on young girls? Visit terri.com/partner or call the number on the screen today.